Well, I've just come back from Israel, and I want to wish you a Veganuary. It's really worth understanding that in Tel Aviv, there's over 400 vegan positive restaurants. Not that they're all vegan, but you can get lots of vegan dishes. And they have lots of vegan restaurants, and they have a little bit of live food restaurants too. But over 400 veganic open restaurants. So why is Veganuary important? Although we don't have the most updated information, we have some pretty good estimates. And we've gone from 0.5% to at least 2%, possibly 5% of people in the U.S. being vegan. Now that's pretty good, and I know this broadcast goes outside the country too, but let's just start with that. So what's 2%? That's 7.2 million people. Let's say it's actually 4%. That's 14.4 million people. That's incredible. And we know a very high percentage of people in Israel are vegan, at least 2%, if not, again, 5%. In Brazil, we're looking at, in Sao Paulo, 10% of the population. What's 10% of the population of 25 million people? That's a lot, 2.5 million people just in one city alone. In Rio de Janeiro, I think it's 12%. And again, so that the vegan movement is happening. Barcelona, the vegan center of Europe, millions of people. It's really, really powerful. And I am fortunate to be talking about this firsthand. I've been to all these places I just mentioned. And it's really exciting to have it happen. The trends in the research also tell us something kind of interesting. The biggest reason people go vegan, 67% of vegans, is because of animal cruelty. It's huge. And animal cruelty is, it's just hard to explain how bad it is. Okay, yes, the animal has pain, okay, but it's way deeper than that. One of my two spiritual teachers, Swami Prakashananda, said it so beautifully. He said, when you kill an animal, you create pain, fear, let's get the word fear in there, and misery. And when you eat that animal, that pain, fear, and misery goes into you. Just look what's happening in the world today. We have pain. We have an incredible amount of fear, and with that, a whole lot of misery. But Veganuary, I don't want to focus on the misery and pain, but it's there, and we're taking it because we're taking in the soul essence of the animal, and we're taking in its pained, fearful life force that has been interrupted. So it's wow, okay, so we're taking that in. We take the frequency in. And that's extremely important to understand in the big picture. You know, we're actually taking the soul of the animal. Now, when we go vegan, we're taking we're not taking the animal soul. We're not amplifying that within ourselves. And so that generally vegan societies, not all vegan societies, tend to be focused more on the inner truth. In the Indian tradition, we call it the sattvic diet. It's a diet that, because we're not filling ourselves with pain, misery, and fear, we're creating a quiet mind. So that's another thing I want to say, is when you're taking the death, pain, misery, and fear, you're taking death into every level of your system, and you are, in a sense, taking the animal soul rather than elevating the human soul aspect. So I'm mentioning these because we need to understand that when you're eating meat, you're eating death going into every level, not just your physical plane, not just the subtle body plane, but all your chakras, and then also what we call the 5 layers of the mind are all negatively affected by the energy of death in itself. So then we move into more of a death-focused culture. Wow. So that's one big thing. Now, about 54%, and why I say about is that data is slightly more than 5 years old. So we know we're having an increased amount of people seeing the bigger picture. About 54% go to veganism for health. Research is very clear. The Oxford study with about 400,000 people showed that vegans have 32% less heart disease. That's huge. Vegan women live 4.4 years longer, and vegan men live 7.2 years longer. I don't know why there's a difference. I can speculate, but it doesn't matter. That's the data that we're looking at. You live longer if you're a vegan. That's the data versus a meat eater. Meat-eating men, it will apply to women too, but the research is with men, in their middle age, 45 to 60, have double the mortality rate and quadruple the heart deaths from heart disease. So in terms of osteoporosis, a meat eater has 4 times more osteoporosis, men and women. Okay, that's pretty significant. The cancer is significantly less. Some cancers are more seriously worse if you're eating meat, like cancer of the bowel. Diabetes. A person who is a vegan has 35 to 50% less type 2 diabetes. And there's just a whole list. High blood pressure. 26% of meat eaters have high blood pressure, and 2% of vegans have high blood pressure. So health is a big issue. Now the environment. Another very powerful reason for going vegan. What do we know for the environment is that although global warming gases are not the main driving force between the cycles of global cooling or warming, what we know is that somewhere between, depending on the study, 21 to 50% of the global warming gases come from animal agriculture. So we're talking, about pain, misery. We're talking about when we take that pain, misery, cruelty, and death and fear into ourself, it agitates the mind, and you need a quiet mind to be able to meditate. Okay? And then we're talking about health. Now we're talking about the environment. Somewhere between, again, 21 and 50% of the global warming gases come from animal agriculture. That's a huge number. There are many reasons, but I'm just going to name one more reason for getting on the Veganic January is, I'm going to just say it, reproduction. What am I saying? Well, the research from governmental sources, which in this case, I kind of have to believe because it's against what they would like to tell us, is that approximately 96% of the pesticides and herbicides in the environment are in animal flesh. Now just think about that for a second. Okay, so when you're eating vegan, you're eating lower on the food chain, obviously, and you are getting really 4% of the pesticides and herbicides versus 96% if you're eating higher on the food chain. Now, how is that relevant? Well, it's not really exactly an environmental statement per se. It's called reproduction. What do I mean? Right now, because of pesticides, herbicides as one of the major kind of issues, the male sperm count in kind of industrial countries is about 50% of what it should be. And if it goes any lower, we have infertility. And between 2007 and 2009, female fertility in the fertile years, ages 16 to 40, dramatically dropped also. We know, so what are we saying here? Okay, we're saying something really important, is that vegans have a much greater potential because they have less exposure to the pesticides and herbicides. They have a greater potential to be able to produce. Maybe vegans will inherit the world. I can't tell you that for sure. But we're looking at serious infertility. More than 25% of college students are infertile. And that's an outdated statistic in the sense that it's worse than that now. So we've got some major reasons for this. We can also say, and this fits with everything we've said, is that all the major traditions except for one do not recommend a vegan diet because it creates a quiet mind, it creates a focused mind, and it creates a healthier person. I already mentioned the diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, and accelerated aging, all being the downsides of a meat-focused diet. So on this Veganuary, may we be empowered, may we be inspired to go vegan. Blessings to all of you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Takiwasan.